Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor channel. Now listen, I wanted to throw something out here today. I believe this video might be a pretty big shocker for a lot of you. Might be pretty big eye opener. What happened? Normally, I receive all sorts of direct messages, and I try to cover the news about digital assets and Ripple and XRP as best I can. Every once in a while, someone sends me something and a light bulb goes off in my head and it reminds me of something else that was sent to me that I didn't necessarily completely understand. And then that reminds me of something else. And all of a sudden, I tie together all these things in my mind and I'm able to present them to you in a way that the average person maybe could understand it, because I consider myself not to be a techie guy, and so a lot of times I'll run into things in this space that I don't have a great understanding of, but I have just enough understanding of it to present it to you so that we all get it together. This is one of those moments. I'm about to show you something that makes a lot of sense to me, okay? And it clicked with me this morning, and I went through that same thought process, and I think it might click with you too. First, I want to get a couple of things out of the way. Sergeant Obi-Wan sent me this. XRP Standard Productions. Guys, take a look at this and retweet his comment. We are very likely mistaken in touting the 400 customer comment. Now, I went over this in the prior video, but I wanted to just show you that there are people that are at these events that help us get the story straight. This guy says, I was standing 4 feet behind her, and this is the woman who some people had said was a Federal Reserve employee or something like that. He said, I was standing 4 feet behind her, and that's when she asked Brad Garlinghouse the question. She never said former Federal Reserve. She said background in banking regulation. Also, she said 400 customers right after Brad Garlinghouse said Ripple had 400 employees. This is how FUD happens. Well, I think he's right. This is one way that FUD happens, but I think most of the FUD we spend our time fighting is intentional misdirection by people in the media or people on Twitter. But yes, it's good to have people that are putting out what actually happened so we can correct the record. All right, Free American Spirit put out a good tweet from Coinbase. Wow, you sound just like Brad Garlinghouse. He's talking to Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase. Good to know you realize Ripple and XRP are on the right path. And he's replying, this is a Coinbase tweet. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong shared his thoughts at the Vanity Fair New Establishment Summit on why crypto is one of the most important innovations on tech right now. Watch this full talk. Okay. We grew up in a world, this is from Brian Armstrong, all these quotes. We grew up in a world where every country has its own currency, but the economy is becoming increasingly global, and the internet is global. So why isn't there a global or transnational currency that powers the GDP of the internet? And then he says, cryptocurrency is creating a new economy, and it's replacing and disrupting many areas of financial services. There are cryptocurrencies that resemble commodities like gold, securities like shares in a company, and currencies as a medium of exchange and payments. And then he says, I have a very long-term view of this industry. Over the next decade, I think cryptocurrency is going to become a greater percentage of GDP globally. I don't want people to get caught up in the hype of speculative trading. Now, speculative buying and holding, that's different, folks. We want to make this industry trusted and easy to use by proactively seeking out regulators, being an educational resource, getting the right licenses, and making it easy to trade crypto around the world. I say welcome to the party, Brian Armstrong, because you just described what Ripple's been doing since 2012 or whenever they started. All right. And next, Charles Schwab. This is from XRP Big Time. Charles Schwab move to sell fractions of shares could be a game changer for investors. Now, this article, by the way, I just remembered that I forgot, and I'm sorry, I forgot to plug in my microphone when I started this video, so I'm just going to go with it. If the sound was not as good, it'll be better next time, but I'm going to lean up close to the microphone for the rest of the video because you're not going to want to miss this, trust me. Okay. Charles Schwab, they're going to sell fractional shares now. Now remember, all these traditional brokerage firms, in a cascading effect, they all just announced that they're going to do 0 commissions on their trades. And now they're going to start selling fractional shares. Now I wonder how on earth that Charles Schwab plans to do this. Haven't we been talking about fractional ownership as a result of blockchain and digital assets? Haven't we been talking about that for the last year and a half? Welcome to the party, Charles Schwab. And I'll say what I've said again. Charles Schwab is one of the most conservative brokerage firms on Wall Street. And remember this, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Not just Charles Schwab, but all of these traditional brokerage firms, including Vanguard, will be in digital assets. You will be able to buy digital assets from these places. They don't have a choice. And that's just the fact, Jack. Okay, now, and I'm trying to talk louder because I remember, my microphone has been doing so well, and it's been a great situation, so I'm just going to speak up. Okay, Camo Ammo at Rocky Carter Inc. sent me this. All right, this is from this lady, Sarah Austin. She was apparently at the Brad Garlinghouse thing at the FinTech Week. The lawmakers on the Hill want to hate on Libra and Zuckerberg right now. XRP is proactively focused on regulatory compliance. Actually, Ripple is for banking solutions, but will focus on taking the appropriate steps over pure capitalism. Here's Brad Garlinghouse's thoughts on this. So she videoed some of this, so you can watch the video. Next, XRP Lighting the Way, at X Lighting the Way sent me this. UK bank shuts off savings accounts carrying £99 million worth of deposits. That's from the Mirror Online. He's giving credit to Love for Crypto, I guess, put this out. Now, I think the way I read this, they're shutting down savings accounts. Well, if you don't have any interest rates and you're not paying your customers any interest, which is the whole purpose of savings accounts, and we've got negative interest rate, well, then why not shut it down? Because nobody's benefiting from that. Well, I can tell you one thing. I'm already reading articles about people who, digital asset companies that are holding digital assets, paying interest on them. And I've even heard it about in retirement accounts lately. So, yeah, see how this world's transitioning? Okay, now to the interesting stuff. Now, I want you to all listen up. Listen good, because this was from, I believe it was yesterday, all right? Tony Valentino tweeted this out, and I covered it, and I kind of was scratching my head, and I think I was scratching my head over this quantum computer system part, because I didn't know what he was talking about. Well, now I do know what he was talking about, and I'm about to carry you through it. And I hope that your mind is as blown as mine. And what literally happened is someone sent me something, and I'm going to show you who it is. They sent me a tweet, and then I said, well, that reminds me of Tony Valentino's tweet from yesterday. And then I started remembering articles and different things that have happened, and I'm going to tie them all together here. And I think that it will make some light bulbs go off for you out there as well. So he says, crash Bitcoin, quantum computer system is ready. Jay Clayton says XRP is not a security. Imagine if all this lines up on the same day. What are the odds? Now, what he's inferring here, now that I know what I know, is that the answer by the U.S. government and maybe other governments to taking down Bitcoin and putting in place what they want to be in place is quantum computers. Now, quantum computers, I went to look it up and see what it's about. And basically, for you and I, most of us out here, we couldn't even begin to try to describe what quantum computing means. But the gist of what I've read is that quantum computing means creating a computer that is so fast that it would literally break Bitcoin, okay? Break the proof of work system, that is, okay? Now, for many, many months, we've talked about how Bitcoin is an inferior technology, and there's all kinds of holes that already appear in Bitcoin. All of the Bitcoin maximalists, including Anthony Pompliano, we've talked about how these are otherwise very smart guys who sit there and act like they're scratching their heads, but they never address all of these technological weaknesses that Bitcoin has. Well, what Tony was just floating was the idea that the creation of quantum computing is what ultimately would be Bitcoin's deathbed. So I went to Wikipedia here, and I just wanted to read you something. It says, Google announced in 2017 that it expected to achieve quantum supremacy by the end of the year, though that did not happen. IBM said in 2018 that the best classical computers will be beaten on some practical task within about 5 years, and views the quantum supremacy test only as a potential future benchmark. Although skeptics like Gil Galay doubt that quantum supremacy will ever be achieved, Google has been reported to have done so with calculations more than 3 million times as fast as those of Summit, generally considered the world's fastest computer. Now, here we go. This is who sent me the tweet this morning. Michelle XRP, who is a bot, 985 at Michelle Schlin 6, sent me this. It says, a new life. Let's pull up this tweet. This is Donald Trump and his daughter and some of the other people involved. And Ivanka Trump tweets this out. It's official. The U.S. has achieved quantum supremacy in a collaboration between the Trump administration, Google, and UC Santa Barbara. Quantum computer Sycamore has completed a calculation in 3 minutes, 20 seconds that would take about 10,000 years for a classical computer. All right, let me make sure there's nothing else in this. She sent this to me, and then things began to pop into my head. But before they began popping, I noticed this in my inbox today. I said it from Crypto-XRP. I said it in my coil blog, and no one listened. Something that was supposedly going to take decades to solve was solved in a short time. The powers that be will not sit idle while their power grip erodes. Elixir and praxis is needed more than ever. Now, what did I tell you? The powers that be. What have I told you 1,000 times on this channel? I recognized early as a guy in my, at the time, I guess, late 30s in 2013, okay? Recognized then, I was old enough then too, to know you are not going to have some revolution and all this business. That's things for 15 and 18-year-olds to think about. The grown-ups understand that something like this, it may be a financial revolution, but it's not going to be a revolution that takes out the, quote, powers that be. The powers that be are not stupid, and they figure things out. Now, so he's tweeting out the same tweet. And this is from Ivanka Trump. It's official. This is the tweet I just showed you. Okay, this is them announcing this. And remember, don't forget Google. UC Santa Barbara. That's where they have done this. And then let's not forget Donald Trump's tweet. I am not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies which are not money and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air. Unregulated crypto assets can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and other illegal activity. And remember, he says unregulated. Who is it that's gone to the regulators ever since the inception of XRP? All right, and then there was this article from October the 2nd, this month. Could Google be about to break Bitcoin? Google sent shockwaves around the internet last month when it was claimed the search giant had built a quantum computer able to solve formerly impossible mathematical calculations, with some fearing Bitcoin could be at risk. Details of Google's so-called quantum supremacy, meaning it can solve calculations impossible with traditional computers, were posted to a NASA website before being deleted. It was claimed by the Financial Times, a business newspaper. And then there's this, folks. Remember when Corey Johnson did the article? This was a Breaker magazine article. And I'm going to read this whole thing for you just so we let this all sink in. The question from the Breaker magazine, do you have a sense of what the Trump administration thinks about a product like Ripple? When I started to meet with people in government and regulators, I had very low expectations. I have been truly amazed at the open-mindedness, number one, and number two, the smart questions, sometimes even tough questions. There's clearly a lot of homework going on. The White House in particular, listen up, folks, the White House in particular seems to be thinking about what it means to have 80% of Bitcoin mining taking place in China and a majority of Ether mining taking place in China. When you look at XRP, there is no mining. So from a foreign control aspect or from an environmental aspect, XRP is a very different beast. And in conversations we've had with the administration, they seem to get that and think that that might matter. I'm going to say that last sentence again for you. And in conversations we've had with the administration, they seem to get that and think that might matter. Okay? Now, who is an investor in Ripple? That would be Google Ventures, who just attained quantum supremacy and is partnered with the Trump administration. And then finally, does anybody remember this? Does anybody remember this? This is a tweet from Ripple on July the 10th, 2019. Great discussion today with leading cryptographer, Director of Simons Institute and Professor of Computer Science, UC Berkeley, and Joel Katz, Ripple CTO and XRP Ledger architect, about cryptography and quantum computing. I remember when I saw this tweet, I remember thinking, well, that's kind of random. That's a very specific topic. I wonder why David Schwartz I wonder why Ripple's tweeting out a tweet and David Schwartz is specifically talking about and thinking about this quantum computing right now. I am the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family that this quantum computing thing did not come out of nowhere. Thank you for listening.